The Timberwolves just stole home court advantage from the Lakers with a statement Game 1 performance. And while there were a ton of different factors leading to the win, such as the fact that they held LA to below 40% shooting, what jumped out most to me was the way they attacked, picked apart, and ultimately decimated the Lakers' defensive game plan. Under JJ Redick, this team plays a very specific style of defense that was on full display to open the series. Their scheme is simple. They're gonna switch every ball screen to avoid giving up an advantage, then whoever's on the ball is gonna angle their body to push attacks baseline, where help is gonna pre-rotate from the weak side to load up early and force that ball handler to make tough decisions. It doesn't matter who's handling. This time it's Randle, Luka pushes him baseline where Hayes is ready to help, then when Gobert sets a screen they switch, and Randle has nowhere to go before he throws a pass into the third row. The idea behind this scheme is to completely take away the middle of the floor. By switching every ball screen, you take away the space to turn the corner, forcing more top of the key jumpers. Then with the way they load up, you're able to avoid mismatches. Randle has Reeves on an island, but with help sinking from the wing, and 3 forwards walling off the paint in a sort of 2-3 zone look, there's nowhere to attack and he ends up settling for a jumper. Then when the offense instead tries to attack from an empty corner, that's when they'll push the ball baseline into immediate help, taking away driving lanes and turning potential layups into lower percentage mid-range jumpers. For the first few minutes of the game, this scheme worked to perfection and the Wolves couldn't get anything going. Halfway through the first quarter, they had already turned the ball over 4 times, they weren't getting to the rim or creating open threes, and they found themselves with a measly 7 points. But that's when they made their first big adjustment. It started with the way they spaced the floor. Instead of trying to isolate from the corner, they had Ant play from up top, then they completely emptied the wings to eliminate the aggressive nail help. Now you have Ant against Reeves on an island, no immediate help on either side, and easier lanes to the rim. Here's a great example. When Ant resets, notice how Reed immediately clears the wing, pulling his defender with him while Ant attacks the middle. Now gap help has to come from the strong side corner, so it's an easy kick out to Jaden McDaniels for 3. This time it's an early offense where he looks to play one-on-one, and again Dante's gonna play from the deep wing while Reed clears out to give Ant the middle. And with so much space to operate, it's really tough to stop him from getting whatever he wants in the paint. Compare that to a possession from the second quarter where he looks to play one-on-one but with Dante spotted up on the wing. When he drives, Bron is able to aggressively help at the nail, and instead of getting to the rim, it's a much tougher floater. So they made a conscious effort to empty the wings every time he played from up top. And if the Lakers wanted to bring help to the nail, it would have to come from whoever was in the dunker, then forcing the low man to drop, meaning that as long as Ant beats his defender, the corner pass would be there every single time, creating a ton of open threes. This carried into the second half as well. Ant gets the switch onto Luka, gets around him with ease, draws help at the rim, and finds Naz Reid in the corner for a warm-up triple. Surrounding Ant with shooters is a big key to making this work, and another is player movement. Randle and Reed basically start in the same spot, but as Ant starts his attack, Reed clears out to the wing while Randle cuts baseline, giving him multiple options to take advantage of after collapsing the paint. Emptying the wings to create space was only one of Minnesota's key adjustments though. Another minor adjustment had to do with the way they angled their screens. On this play from the first, you'll notice that Reed sets a screen to Dante's left, and when he pops, the Lakers are able to easily switch without giving up an advantage, again shutting off the middle. Now compare that to a play from the third, where instead of screening to a side, Randle sets a north to south screen, pinning Luka to the perimeter, meaning that if they want to switch, he has an automatic advantage in the short roll, where he finds Gobert up top with a lob. And speaking of Randle, when the Wolves went to a lineup of him and 4 shooters, they started to run through him in the post, where the Lakers again found themselves without an answer. This is where they found a majority of their offense in the non-Edwards minutes. When he turns his back to the basket, there really isn't anyone LA's comfortable bringing help from, especially Naz Reid, who shot 6 of 9 from 3. I think a simple adjustment from the Lakers in Game 2 is to leave him in single coverage anytime he doesn't have the switch onto a guard, forcing him to beat you as a scorer, especially if it's someone like LeBron on him. I'm trusting him to use his strength and IQ to force Randle into tough looks as a scorer, as opposed to letting him find open shooters all night. So, the Wolves found success by emptying the wings, switching up their screening angles, and posting up Randle. And to me, the best counter to all three of these things is to switch less. I think if you can avoid letting Randle get a guard in the post, playing him in single coverage with one of your bigger wings sort of neutralizes the threat, and those pin-in screens aren't nearly as effective if the roller can't instantly turn into an advantage. Then with those top of the key isolations, if you're letting Ant get the switch onto whoever he wants, he's gonna create downhill pressure every single possession, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little bit more trapping to get the ball out of his hands early. With all of that said though, I think more than anything, the Lakers just have to execute better. They had a ton of breakdowns in this game that had little to do with the scheme or Minnesota's adjustments, and everything to do with the fact that they just failed to execute. Remember, against attacks from the wing or corner, they're looking to bring help from the weak side. There were a few instances where help instead dropped from the strong side corner, resulting in kickouts to high-level shooters for open threes. Another problem the Lakers had was that on closeouts, they continuously left the floor to jump at ball fakes, and this happened so many times that I actually questioned whether or not it was intentional. When Randle drives and kicks it out, Vincent isn't that far from Dante. There's no reason to jump here, and the result is another wide open look. This one starts with Randle posting up Reeves, and the Lakers come with a double. Then when he makes the pass, they do a great job of rotating to defend the three-point line, only for Luka to leave his feet on a Randle fake, resulting in a wide open lane down the middle, and nobody to keep him from getting a second chance opportunity. Something else the Lakers have to fix in Game 2 is their transition defense. Too many times were the Wolves able to push the ball up the floor and immediately find someone for a good look. You also had a few plays like this where a defender took a gamble, unsuccessfully, so the Wolves found themselves pushing across court with an instant advantage. This was especially a problem in Game 1 because Minnesota made it a point of emphasis to play with pace whenever they could, consistently turning defense into offense, with this corner three from Ant putting them up by 27. So in terms of what I think the Lakers can fix moving forward, I'd say less switching, and if you're able to do that, you can probably stop loading up as aggressively on Ant and leave Randle's post-ups in single coverage. The absolute necessities are no helping from one pass away, no jumping at ball fakes, and getting back in transition consistently. However, there's one thing they simply can't fix, and that's the fact that the Wolves are simply a way bigger and way more athletic team. I talked about how they posted up Randle. Well, they also posted up Jaden or Nas whenever they had mismatches to attack, and anytime Jackson Hayes wasn't on the floor, they had no sort of vertical presence at the rim, making it so easy for everyone on the court to not only score inside, but get on the offensive glass, as they led all teams through one game with 23 second chance points. I think the Lakers have to find a way to get Hayes more minutes, so let's go ahead and add that to my list of potential defensive fixes. He only played 8 minutes in this one, and that meant for 37 minutes they didn't have a center on the court at all. And it's that lack of size that often leads to defensive errors like overcommitting to the paint, which the Wolves used to their advantage to create a truckload of open threes. They set a franchise playoff record with 21 made threes, and at 50%, I wouldn't expect them to shoot quite this good again, but their roster is loaded with shooters, so letting them create open threes with ease simply isn't a good path to victory. Of the guys who shot great from three in this one, Randle and maybe McDaniels are the only two who the Lakers should feel somewhat comfortable leaving open, but I'd counter my own point there with the fact that Alexander Walker and DiVincenzo shot a combined 2 of 11, and they both can't be left open whatsoever, so it almost feels like an unsolvable issue. When you pair a great offensive game plan with poor defensive execution, mismatch problems, and hot shooting, you end up with a result like the Wolves in Game 1. They had a scorching hot 134.5 offensive rating, which was second among all 16 teams behind just the Cavs, and that was the fuel behind a 22-point win. Whether or not they can replicate this performance in Game 2, only time will tell, but something has to change for the Lakers if they're gonna tie up the series. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and turn my post notifications on to be first on more content. If you're interested in my more in-depth research, make sure to check out the Hoop Venue podcast and my social media profiles. You can find those links in the description. Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought of this game. As always, I hope you all have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.